life, ain't
It's a
it?
goal in life.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And where are you guys from?
I'm originally from the British Virgin Islands. That's what I was
Okay.
raised. I was born in Florida, but I was raised in the British Virgin Islands.
Oh,
And
is that no? That's a bunch of different islands. So
it's like, yeah, it's a
was there a particular island that you were from?
Tortola.
Tortola. I think I've
Yes.
been to Tortola.
May have on a cruise or
Yeah, on
something.
a cruise,
Most
yeah.
people always go on a cruise
Yeah.
or a visit or something like that. Yeah, it's a nice little country.
Yeah, a beautiful
About,
place to come
yeah,
from.
30,000 people in total.
Oh my
about.
God,
Yeah, so
like-
everybody knows everybody.
it's like a college town.
Basically, basically, you're right. You're right.
And Arnulfo, where are you from?
I am from here. Actually, I was born and raised in San Gabriel Valley, in the Rosemy-Almani area. But I right now reside in Ontario.
Uh-huh.
So I do the commute from Ontario, California, all the way here.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's
so
a ways. How was the
Yeah.
traffic?
it's it's a gamble, honestly. That you wake up at a certain time like be. So, for example, I have to be here at 9 o'clock. I have to wake up around 6 o'clock. I have to be out of the house before 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
just to
be on the safe side.
beat all the
Yeah, not
beat all
bad.
the traffic.
Yeah,
But I mean, you get used to it for when
Yeah.
doing the drive for 10 years already.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it
10
gets
years.
to you
10
sometimes.
years.
Yeah,
Wow.
10 years.
A few 100,000 miles.
Yeah, I already bought a new car in.
Yeah.
Eesh. I'm already
Yeah.
almost getting close to 200.
Oh, I was wondering if you, I wasn't sure if you guys were going already.
Oh, you
we're
recorded
done.
already?
Actually, show's over. And it was
Oh,
great.
I didn't
I
know
had a
you
great
was
time.
recording.
I
All
learned a
right.
lot.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
All right, we can get good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're all rolling. No, we'll cut out the beginning though.
Nah, you could probably keep it. You can keep it. Yeah, I just start.
Why not?
Yeah.
I was gonna say though, if you just want to bring the mics a tad closer, that's just so they're not blocking your face. Good middle ground in between there.
Aight.
Yes, sir. Sound good? All right, ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll leave all that in because it'll be good content.
I was just gonna ask which camera you want me to start on. Also, just the wide shot.
Yeah, you can start on the wide.
All right.
All right, ready? Let's go. All right, y'all. So welcome back to Talk That Ish. This is season 2. I'm your host that do the most, your boy Ish Roy. And on this season, we're gonna do things a little different. I got a co-host, my homeboy Arnulfo Mendoza, also known as Ernie. That's what you can call him as for short.
Yes, sir.
He's gonna help me, lead this podcast. But today, as you guys can see on my left, we have a very special guest. I'm talking about one of the top 10 impersonators in the country, in my eyes. He's done numerous things even before I was born. He's been in different TV shows.
I was waiting for you to come along. Yeah.
movies.
We were very patient about it.
Different movies. And he's a social media sensation.
Oh,
TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, you've probably seen him. And if you haven't seen him, your mama and your grandmama probably seen him. I'm talking about the one and only Jim Meskaman,
thank you, Ish.
also known as Jim Pression.
That's
Yeah.
right, Jim Impressions. That's
All
the name of my
right.
show. Thank
That's
you.
right,
Thank
that's
you,
right.
Arnulfo. Yeah, good to be here. Good to be here.
I'm
Nice
glad
to
to
be
have you, man.
nice to be acknowledged so in such a pleasant way. Thank you.
Oh, no, for sure, man. I've known about you since about 2018
Wow.
when I was working with Bayou Bennett and Daniel Lehr.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you went over, I think
That's
you came
right.
and did an interview with them.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you the first time, very
Ah.
first time. I mean, after that, I just sat back and watched your career and I watched you blossom. And I was like, man, I got to talk to him. I hope he remembers me. I got to talk to him. And I'm actually glad that you actually decided to come and
Oh
sit
yeah,
with me, man.
yeah, that was fun talking. Yeah, I'm glad. I thought you looked familiar. I
Yes,
thought those
sir.
glasses looked familiar.
Oh, no, this is a different type of guy. All right, man. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Where you from? Where you born and raised? All that.
I was raised. I love your accent, by the way. I love people's. I love the human voice. And I love accents. And people in the British Virgin Islands, there's just a little bit of an accent there, but just enough. You almost got rid of it completely, but not everything.
You wouldn't believe I tried to get rid of it.
Yeah,
just
that's
now.
right. You
I'm
try
trying.
to bury it, but it's still there, just a little bit.
Yeah, man, it's still there for sure.
So I grew up out here in Southern California, in the Valley. I'm a Valley guy, and my mother was an actress, and so I saw that part of the world, that part of the entertainment business, and from a distance as a little kid. didn't really totally understand it or understand how I could be part of it, or if I wanted to be part of it. I was, of many different opinions about it over the years. And what I really loved to do was, as a boy, is I draw cartoons. I was really into drawing. I was the kid who did the yearbook and the newspaper cartoons and all this stuff in the school. Right. Whenever any art project needed to be done, they'd go, well, Jim, you're going to... I went, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this. And my mother would pay me to make greeting cards for her friends, So early on, I realized there is money attached to this. This is good. And I just was very drawn to it, but also at the same time, drawn to voices, impressions, accents, and things like that, both from my mom and watching TV. I was just thinking about when I was a kid. I'm so much older than you guys, but when I was a kid, the fun voices that I was like obsessed with were Boris Karloff from the Frankenstein films, and a lot of cheap, really, really cheap, crappy horror films, late night horror films, black and white, terrible, terrible films, and Bela Lugosi, who was also Dracula, and was seen a lot of terrible movies. The more horrible, and the worse the movie was, the more I liked it. Because there was something about, I don't know, watching grown-ups do something so stupid, and that had to do with blood and monsters and, strange scientific experiments. That was like, oh my God, I have to watch this movie. To this day, I don't understand why I was so obsessed with it, but I think a lot of people my age were, probably guys your age, were obsessed with different kind of voices or perhaps more healthy things. But in any case, so I started to kind of noodle around and play around with my voice and amuse my friends. And that was my only goal, was at that time, was to just make people laugh and have a good time with my pals. And since I had a facility for imitating Western people or whatever, cowboys or John Wayne or whatever the heck it happened to be, it would make them laugh like it still does. Yeah. And it's a kind of a funny little, it's almost like a magic trick. Yeah. Only it's good because you can't do the same card trick to your friends every day. They get kind of like, put it away. Yeah. I'm done. Thank you. I know you're amazing. But funny voices, you can bring it up every day, and it's got some longevity. So anyway, that's my humble beginnings. And then I worked as a freelance artist, as a freelance cartoonist. I trained to be an artist, basically, and that's a long story. But eventually, I wound up in New York City, specifically to be an actor, because I figured out that my true calling was to be a performer. But I did support myself as a cartoonist and as an illustrator in New York, because that was a skill. That was a marketable skill. My acting was growing, but I didn't know how to support myself at it exactly. And I was unknown. You have to be known. So, but I did know how to get in the door at advertising agencies and other places and show them my portfolio. And they'd go, oh, you know how to draw, you know how to do this and that. So I would get work. And one of the first jobs I got, which kind of got me out of the soup in New York City, got me out of trouble, was designing cartoon characters for the Thundercats, the original Thundercats show.
No way.
And I was the only character designer on that show during the entirety of its run. So that was a sweet job. When I got that job, I was like, oh my God, I really struck gold here. And that helped my wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, stay in New York, pay the bills, eat out, eat food, and keep going while I developed and got into commercials and then improv and all the other things that I built my career on.
That's incredible.
Seems like 1,000 years ago. Things were so different then. There were these things called payphones.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody used on the streets. You'd call your agent, dial and type in your number and wait for them. And I even had a thing. We had message machines. You get a voice message machine. It was like this. It looked like a cassette player that sat in your living room. And I had one that had, if you wanted to call and pick up your messages from outside the house, that was big technology. Like, ooh, I wonder if anyone's called me and I'm away from my phone. So they had a little device that you would hold up to your phone that would go, ring, and it would play back your messages. It would trigger something in your phone machine. And I remember, the only reason why I remember this at all is because I used it, of course, and it was very helpful. But also, one day I'd forgotten my little noisemaker. And I was like, damn, I'm out of the house. I want to pick up my messages. I wonder if I can imitate that thing. And so I was like, okay, I'm in a picture, grown man in a phone booth going, and trying to hit the note. I did not succeed. I did not succeed in picking up my messages that day.
Man.
No.
So what was the when you first saw, whether it was your mom acting or any type of entertainment, what was it that made you say, I'm gonna do this, I'm nothing else? I mean, I know you said you did, the illustration and all that for Thundercats and all, but what was it that really stamped it, even before that made you want?
Yeah.
to
Just
do
before that it
entertainment?
happened. Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I was very exhilarated by performers. So I would go to a movie and see old movies, Danny Kaye, and someone singing and being clever and doing voices and dancing and being amazing. And you go, oh, I'm just so exhilarated by that. I feel like I should be able to do that, or to do that would be amazing. But never committed to it, as you said. So I never really pulled the trigger on it completely because I had this other thing and I didn't know how to get in. And I happened to be living in Madrid, Spain, where I had been studying art in Spain, and I lived in Madrid, and I was trying to figure out my life and where I wanted to go and where my heart lay. And I was about 23, and I'd just seen a movie, a Scorsese film called Mean Streets at an art house, because it was old by that point. It was a 70s movie, I think, early 70s. And I'd seen that movie and I was like, wow, that was a cool movie. I like those actors. I like that Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel are in this movie. And I'm thinking about that. And then I see these posters in Madrid at the time. There was a Scorsese film called The King of Comedy that was coming out with Robert De Niro, who plays this guy who wants to be a stand-up comic. He's not very funny, and he kidnaps somebody, Jerry Lewis, and it's this weird kind of movie. But I thought, wow, that movie's just coming out. I'm like, that's a Scorsese film, like the one I just saw. I really want to see that movie. I'm so excited about that. And I'm walking down the street, and I run into the great actor Harvey Keitel on the streets of Madrid.
Wow.
Complete coincidence. And I stopped him. And I spoke to him. He was very nice. Harvey Keitel talks like this. He's got a very small mouth. And he asked me what I was doing in Madrid, and I told him. And I said, I'm interested in being an actor. He said, that's interesting. Anyway, we split. And right after he left, I was like, I realized, my God, it was Harvey Keitel, and I'm so excited. My heart was just going. And I recognized that as being an important clue. So what I should do with my life. And I thought, maybe that's it. Because I have experienced a lot of great emotion and things from witnessing great painters and art.
Right.
But I never had this. So I decided then, that afternoon, I'm going to New York. And I changed my whole life at that point, and I made plans to go to New York. Within a month, I think I was in New York City. Wow. And starting on my looking for acting work, looking for acting training, doing the whole deal, getting pictures and all that stuff you have to do.
Wow.
So Harvey Keitel, if you're out there watching, I owe you a lot.
And when did you realize that you can do different voices?
Well, like I say, early on when I was a kid, I could do Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, and I could go, Willie Woodpecker. And I could do whatever, I had a good facility, and I guess a lot of, like any kid, a lot of spare time. I wasn't really involved much in sports. Right. I wasn't out playing football or cricket. Do they play cricket in the British Rifle? Yeah, I didn't play cricket, never learned. So I wasn't super busy doing that. I was in my room a lot drawing and watching too much TV, stupid TV, and doing voices. And my mother, since she was an actress, understood that a person has an urge to perform and to goof around that way. So I never got disciplined for that. Right. I got disciplined for other things, but I didn't get disciplined for acting up, playing characters, imitating actors, and stuff like that. In fact, it was kind of appreciated in my family. My mom was a single mom, raised my sister and I by herself pretty much, and she was sometimes like a bratty older sister in a lot of ways, in a good way. And so she tolerated a lot of my nonsense and still does. She's going to be 95 in October. She's a treasure.
Birthday, Mama.
Happy early birthday.
October 25th.
Okay, wow.
Big
So
95.
what's your top 5 voices that you just?
Well, I think Patrick
Absolutely.
Stewart is one for sure, Picard, because he's, first of all, because every day I look a little bit more like him and sound a little bit more like him, and he sounds a little bit more like me. So we're growing closer every day,
That's incredible.
making it so. And then Robin Williams, of course, I've done Robin Williams for many years. I did the Blue Genie for Disney quite often on little projects. Things I can even talk about. It's wonderful. Even with the strike on, I can say parades and all kinds of things. Video games. Yeah, we're not on strike for video games because we don't get any residuals anyway. Who else? I used to do a lot of George W. Bush. You probably don't remember he was the president
Oh,
I
yeah.
do.
I believe the United States. Some of them.
Some of them, not all,
Almost all the United States.
So,
not all, Mr. President.
Not all. The good ones, the big ones.
The good ones.
The big, the ones on the map that look orange.
Now let's see. Who else do I like to do? I like to do Colin Firth because he's very hesitant and gives you time to think up the next bit you're going to say, and done him quite often. And
Sam Elliott as well. The great Sam Elliott with that big gray mustache. I can't get down quite as low as he does.
no.
But if I get close to the mic, I can do a pretty good job.
and
It's incredible.
who else? Jesus.
You know who I love that very few impressionists do, at least I haven't heard too much of it, is Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
And Tommy Lee Jones is always so interesting to watch because he just seems like he's got something else completely on his mind or somewhere he has to be, somewhere he'd rather be, or saying something else that he'd rather say than this. And I think it's just captures something about the human condition, is that people always want to be somewhere else than where they are.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Thank you. Well, good night. Yeah, I'll be doing them all on my show, the Impression Show, which is going to be August 25th, 26th, and 27th at the Acting Center in Sherman Oaks.
Sherman.
So if you go to jimmeskeman.com, you can get tickets to that little theater. So
So how many voices do you think you can do, or is it like you can just pick up, like how you just heard my accent and just kind of pick up on it? Like, is it like that, or is it like you actually have to sit down and study these voices? And
I do. I study them, but out of interest and out of love. You know, I'm attracted. I have affinity for certain people and certain kinds of voice. And I mean, I love the Brits. This is no one in particular, but I mean, I just love the fact that they can all of a sudden say something and it just sounds like they're not putting you on. It's absolutely true. So when I parked outside, there was a guy at the fire hydrant that was doing his dishes. Sounds true. It's not true at all. I made it up. But it sounds true if I say it with a British accent. And that's how they get away with all kinds of crap. But when I study people, it's because I'm interested, you know, and that makes it easy. Then it doesn't seem like work.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other impressionists or people that do voices and stuff that you look up to? Or
Absolutely, yeah, tons. You know, everybody brings a different viewpoint to it. So, I mean, first you have to talk about the grandfather, the godfather, Rich Little. I don't know if you know Rich Little very well.
Not really.
You don't? Okay. So Rich Little invented, basically, for the 20th century, the modern impressionist, what they do. And he rose to prominence in the late 50s, early 60s. And he's still alive today, still performing in Vegas. I've spoken to him a couple times. I interviewed him once myself.
Nice.
And he was just a chameleon. Tremendous control of his voice, tremendous ability to change and to capture the nuances of people like Jimmy Stewart, for example, another old actor, but he is very, very good at it.
And Cary Grant, too, is another one. These are all old-timey people that Rich Little does very, very well. And Richard Nixon. And don't forget Richard Nixon. He did a very good Richard Nixon at a time when Nixon was on TV every night. And so it only served him right. But Rich Little was also taking the piss, as they say in England.
And so anyway, Rich Little is amazing and can be seen on YouTube and is just stunning. And then modernly, there's Jay Farrow, who I think is great. I met him once. He's terrific. And Frank Caliendo, great, brilliant. And now he comes from a stand-up comedy background, as Jay Farrow probably does too.
Yeah,
They do stand-up. I I didn't go down that path. A lot of what I do is I hope funny or humorous, but a stand-up is a very specific art form.
Right, definitely.
You go to comedy clubs for one thing. The place you work is different. You know, I work in theaters. They work in clubs. It's very different because in a theater, I like a theater because theater doesn't have waiters and hecklers. And I'd rather not have that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have that. So I like to work in theaters. But Frank Caliendo is a genius at stand-up comedy, and he takes, from what I saw his show, I admire it so much. He'll take 7 or 8 characters that he does just blisteringly well, like John Madden and Robin Williams as well, and some others, and he'll just kind of take up different topics. And then we'll hear what those guys have to say about this topic. And it's always just lightning fast and really funny with a stand-up comedy kick to them, I think, and tried and true and polished. The thing about stand-up comedy that I've observed is that these guys, they go into a comedy club. They write stuff. They write whatever at home. They go into a comedy club. They try stuff out. This bombed. This didn't work. This killed. Whatever. They notice. And eventually they put together a tight 10 or a tight 30 where they know they got 18, 20 jokes in a row that are just like building to a boom. And that's research. And the disciplined ones do it that way. Jerry Seinfeld does it that way. And that's a different process than I have because I have a different goal. So I'm not just trying to make people laugh. I do crave to make people laugh, but it's not my larger goal. So Caliendo is fantastic at that, and Jay Farrow, and there's a young guy named Ryan Goldshire who's terrific. There's a woman named Rosemary Watson who's a very good friend of mine who does Martha Stewart, and Barbara Walters, and Cher, and just a ton of other female voices, just beautifully. Plus, she plays piano and sings, and she's very, very talented. So Rosemary Watson is someone to look for. And gosh, I worked with, I think it's okay to talk about this even with the strike on because you cannot find this show anywhere. And that was a show called Impress Me, which was a TV series created by my friend Ben Shelton, starring Ross Marquand, who was on The Walking Dead. Played the guy with the fake hand. He lost a hand, I guess. I didn't watch the show, but I saw some pictures. Anyway, he is, besides being a terrific actor, which he is a fantastic impressionist. So we had a series about 2 impressionists who were trying to be taken seriously as actors in Hollywood. And we had a lot of impressionists that were guest stars on the show, like Rachel Butera, Piotr Michael, fantastic impressionist, voiceover actor. Christina Bianco, Dana De Lorenzo, who was on Ash versus Evil Dead, and many more. Anyway, we all became friends. It's funny. There's a lot of the little niche world of show business. There's not a feeling of cutthroat competition. There's a lot of friendship. In the animation world, it's the same. Animation people are so nice to one another. And maybe secretly they're cutthroat, but in person they're very friendly.
Right.
And the same with impressionists. Michael Wilson is another great one who does cruise ships and terrific stuff, and he's wonderful. And John DiDomenico, who does Trump, is awesome, and he does a fantastic Trump, the best, I think. For my money, he does the best. Besides me, I do the best. He does the other best. There's several bests. So,
Wow, that's good. So let me ask you, which one do you rather? Do you rather theater, like on stage, or do you rather on camera?
Well, I built this silly career out of a mixture of a lot of different things because, opportunities either are there or they aren't there. I like to stay busy. So, for instance, right now, I am not nearly as busy as I was 3 months ago before the strike. So I am getting busy with my live show and with audiobooks and with commercials like Colonel Sanders. I do the voice of Colonel Sanders right now, and I've been doing that for quite some time. So I stay busy with that. But as soon as this lifts, I would love to do more TV and film because that is something that reaches a big audience with a lot of quality. And so I kind of like to keep all the balls juggling, But there is something marvelous and unique most actors will tell you about being in front of a room full of people, actual
yeah.
people, and actual people appreciate it too. You know, when I go to see live performers that are great, there's something extra than, you know, when you watch it in a movie.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, I like the stage because I'm a trained actor as well. I'm not a working actor like yourself. I just went to school for it and all that. Since high
Nice.
school, I've been doing acting. So, but I was trained on the stage itself. Like I started off in theater. So when I came out here to do acting for film, it was different because I'm like the type that I need to feel the energy of the room. I need to feel, okay, if I crack a joke, I want to hear the laughter. You know, I want to see somebody crying in the crowd when there's a sad scene type like that. I feel off of energy. So when I would do acting stuff, I would prefer to be on stage versus to like the camera. You know, you might be in the middle of the scene and they might just yell cut. And you're like, oh wait, we got to do this over.
Happens quite a lot.
But yeah, like especially if like it's a crying scene in the middle of you crying, you got to cut, try to like do that all over again. It's I don't know, it's different for me.
What have been some of the roles that you've enjoyed doing?
But I haven't done anything
You in school maybe, or
just in school. I mean, we did short films though, like theater stuff. Like we performed for our teachers and things like that. But like after a while, after I got like an agent, I got to the point where I got an agent, a manager. I would go to like auditions, and I went to one audition, and it was a bad experience, and I just never looked back.
oh, what happened?
Well, I never really fully explained it, but I'll fully explain it for y'all. So it was partially my fault because I had a headshot, but on the headshot, I looked a little lighter. You know, my hair was a little curlier. It was a photo shoot that I did a while back, right?
Okay, so it was not an accurate how you looked.
Because I went home to the Virgin Islands for a vacation before this audition. Let's just say I got a little tanner. Right? From being in the sun, and my hair didn't have the gel in it when I went to the audition.
Okay.
This is something my agent and manager didn't warn me about. They just let me go to the audition.
Right.
Basically, he just told me I look too ugly. I'm too ugly for the role.
He said ugly.
The word ugly. A lot of people don't believe me when I say it, but I wish I had his name, number, everything. So I
Yeah,
could put
me
it up.
too.
But he said, "I'm sorry, sir, you're too ugly for this role." So I'm like,
Unbelievable.
too
Wow.
ugly for this. I called my agent. I was like, the man said I'm too ugly for the role. She said, what? I said, the man said I'm too ugly for the role. But I understood because my headshot was totally different than how I walked in the room. So after that, I was just like, you know what? I don't really want, because I was going to get to the point where I was going to fight him. But I
Sure.
said, let me leave, let me leave and try to stay professional and
Right.
just not look back. And after that, I just went to the school with Bayou and Daniel did producing, directing, writing, and editing, wrote my first script, basically tried to sell that, had another issue with Hollywood, trying to sell that. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm still trying to find my way, still doing my thing.
Wow.
And then this podcast thing came up and I just like, you know what? I love talking to people. I like hearing people's story. Why not try it out and see where it goes? You know?
Get it. How long ago was that with that casting person?
How long ago it
How
was?
long ago?
Man, I was signed in 2016. So about 2017. About that.
About 7, 8 years ago.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so-
Well, first of all, completely aside from the fact that you're not an ugly person, you're a very good-looking man.
Thank you very much. I hope you're looking at this right now.
That's the most unprofessional thing I think I've ever
Definitely.
heard of a casting person saying. So
Right.
that indicates to me that casting person was not a professional person, was
Definitely
some
not.
fly-by-night, probably is not in business anymore, long gone.
Probably.
Because, but that being said, I mean, as you experienced in the worst form, right out of the gate, there is a certain amount of criticism and evaluation of oneself that happens every time you audition for a role. Now, mostly these thoughts, these considerations like, oh, he's too tall, he's too dark, he's too light, he's too this, he's too that, happen in the mind of the casting person. They don't ever have to go out of the mouth of the casting
Right.
person to the person.
Exactly.
It's irrelevant. It's unprofessional. The good ones go, thank you very much for coming in.
I've had those too.
Yeah,
I've
and
had
those are the right
Thank you.
ones. Those are the right
Thank
ones. You had a real stinker.
Yeah,
So
I
that
don't
is
know.
that
he
is
had a bad day
terrible.
or
I
his period
apologize.
or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's all good though.
Yeah.
You know, you live, you learn, and you move on, man. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you are a social media sensation. What is it like? What is that like? Because you know,
Well, it's funny that you say I'm a social media sensation. Here I am.
on.
I'm 64. I'll be 60. No, I'll be 64 in a couple months.
Happy
And-
birthday to you too.
And I have this silly life where I get to do fun things, and I do have to do some grown-up stuff, but I get to horse around quite a bit. And being a social media sensation, I've always been interested in producing content just in general. And originally, the content I produced was just cartoons and drawings. And when I was starting out in New York, and I knew I had to be constantly promoting myself if I wanted to get anywhere, I would draw cartoons and send them to people. And that evolved into doing videos and content on the social media platforms. And I just have a real strong affinity for creating these little skits or plays or speeches or poems or goofy things that I do. I have a show where I do celebrity fortune cookie every day. I spin a wheel. I get a celebrity name. I open up a fortune cookie and read it like Burgess Meredith
Or like Harrison Ford, or, gosh, today's the day you're finally going to break down and clean your cat box.
whatever it happens to be. And so I just like to be creating stuff and sharing it with other people. And I had some early success with YouTube in a way that I can't duplicate anymore. But I had a video to promote my Jimpression show. I've been doing it for years. And so back in 2011, I had a Jimpression show that I was launching. And I thought, I just need to get 60 people into this room. There's millions of people in Los Angeles. I got to just get 60. So I did a video called Shakespeare and Celebrity Voices, which was part of my show. And it went legitimately viral at the time. And I had, in a couple of weeks, I had 500,000 views, which was a lot. A lot back then. And that filled the houses, and it opened up all kinds of opportunities for me to perform and to be kind of established as an impressionist and as a YouTube person. And then Instagram, TikTok recently we picked up and had some early success with that too. We got some help from a guy with a wonderful agency called Probably. And it's funny though, because it's weird. As anybody who's had any kind of success with these social media platforms, you go, 3.5 million people watched this and liked it. Does that mean I'm famous? I know I'm not making any money, but does that mean what does it mean? It's a number. It's a little thing. You go, it's desirable. It's a 3 and a 5 with a dot in between. That's exciting. And every now and then you go out in the world and someone says, "Hey, I like your TikToks." And I'm like, "Who are you?" Because I'll meet 900,000 other people walk by me and go about their business. But every now and then someone will go, "Oh, dude." Sometimes it's, "Oh, dude. Hey, can I want my son to take her picture with you. Take my picture with her. Son, this is Sting." I go, not actually Sting.
Not the actual Sting, but
So there's degrees of fame. There's mistaken fame. There's actual fame. There's momentary fame. Yeah. I used to do commercials for a company called Cash and Carry in Florida. It was very big in the Tampa area. And I was on TV all the time. I was on billboards and on radio.
wow.
That was only in the Tampa area, basically. So everywhere else I went in the world, nobody knew who the hell I was. I'd go to Tampa and people go, "Oh my God, hey." I was insanely famous in Tampa and Clearwater and nowhere else. So it's odd, and you kind of have to go, "Oh, okay, well, what is fame?" Fame is like some nice recognition, some admiration from strangers. If it's admiration, if that's the kind of fame you get. Sometimes you can get fame for being a badass and from kicking somebody hard in the head. But I got fame from being kind of funny and friendly.
Right.
So they go, "Oh, funny, friendly guy. I'll be funny and friendly to you," And so what's that worth? Well, it's nice. It's just nice, And I like to meet new people and to have a little bit of the seeds of friendship instantly is great. Like when I met you two guys, it's like, well, you want to see me, I want to see you. It's like, it's nice, It's different than if I just went out on Cahuenga Boulevard right now and just talked to the first person out there. It might be a little different.
True that. True that. You're not lying.
Well, I'm lucky. I'm here actually. I'm really lucky to meet you, and it's an honor. And also, I just want to thank you because Thundercats has been big part of my life.
Yeah?
All since growing up.
Who's your favorite Thundercat?
Oh, it's the cat. I forget the cat. Meow. He goes meow.
Oh, Snarf.
Snarf. There you go.
Snarf.
And
The great Bob McFadden did his voice.
amazing. And thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for
you're
creating
welcome.
an amazing childhood for me. But I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite film? What's your favorite movie? The movie
Of
that
all
you can,
time?
yeah, of all time that you cannot stop watching. And that you
Well,
wanna watch
I
it
mean, there are so many that are great, you know, and I it's hard to differentiate. But
Yeah.
I usually say, and it's, there's 3 or 4 that I kind of like
Okay,
are
let's
always
go.
kind of percolating and
Oh.
bubbling up to the top.
over.
But,
Name
but
top
right
five.
now, the one I think that you might have seen is To Kill a Mockingbird,
Oh yeah,
Gregory Peck.
yes, yes,
and that's a gorgeous film. It's just
incredible.
It's just gorgeous. And, you know, film is if you've ever, you've done films, you've made
Yeah.
films, you know what it's like. It's a fragmentary construction. You know, you work for 3 hours for a shot that maybe
Yeah.
lasts 8 seconds.
Yeah,
That much.
And
yeah.
then when you put that next to the next shot, though, it looks like a continuous thing, and it's an illusion. You know, when Tom Cruise is running down this thing, you know, then they broke for lunch. Maybe another day. Maybe he didn't come to work the next day.
Maybe not.
Then they got together again, and he ran around the
Same
corner.
thing again.
And when you see it in the movie, he's going like that, and you're like, okay, so it's an illusion, right?
Yeah.
And the bad movies don't pull off that illusion. You never forget that you're watching a movie.
yeah.
It's like, oh, that's another setup. Okay, well, the wardrobe's a little funky on that. Was that the boom? I think I saw the boom. You know, and you can't. I don't know. The illusion is not. It's shaky. It's almost like like if you put together a shed in your backyard and it's. Did you put all the nails in? I think I did. There's a lot left over. I know. I tried. A good movie pulls you in, and you're in a life, and it's got the sequential quality of a actual time and a time period. And To Kill a Mockingbird is like that for me.
That's incredible.
Wow.
I love that. Yeah, I got to see that in high school, and I think the one that played the little girl. I keep on forgetting her name. Blanche? No. What was the little girl's name? Because I used to
In
read-
which?
Which one?
In To Kill a Mockingbird?
Yeah, from To Kill the Mockingbird.
Scout?
Scout.
Yeah.
The original actress lady, I guess she brought back the play here in L.A. and I guess she played a part in it.
Oh.
And it was incredible. I missed it.
Oh, nice.
It just
Oh,
sucked,
I would have
but-
liked to seen that
Yeah, it would have been. It was,
with Richard Thomas. Yeah. To Kill a
It's
Mockingbird.
but yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
It's a
But
great
Jaws
book.
is a great film too.
Yeah.
Jaws is. I could
Jaws,
get pretty
yeah.
slap happy talking about Jaws. That's just a great film. And this is kind of the season of
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
Shark
summer.
Week. Yeah,
Shark
yeah,
Week.
definitely.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about it a little bit, get some detail, because, you know, it's been all over the country. Everybody's been watching this strike. It started off with the writers,
Right.
and you're not part of WGA,
I'm not.
but SAG decided to join with them.
Yep.
I just want to, I guess, from the outside looking in, for like everybody else, we just really want to know what's going on, like what's the end goal really? What's the goal in all of this? Because as you guys, of course, you know, a lot of stuff been pushed back, movies, TV shows, all that stuff that everybody been looking forward to watch and everything. But I want to get the point of view from you, because I've seen a lot of writers. I've actually invited a writer to come and sit with me. He declined it, I guess. He didn't want to do it. That's fine. But I wanted somebody who's actually in the field, that's actually out there. And I've seen you've actually been out there, right? So I want to know exactly what are you guys fighting for? Or what is SAG fighting for?
Yeah. So, yeah. SAG has different demands. We have different issues that we want to come to agreement with the producers on. But there is an overlap between our concerns and the Writers Guild. There's certain things that are similar. In general, and I'm not really an authority on all this, and I haven't done all the
for
research,
sure.
but I can say that from my standpoint, what I see is that with streaming, the phenomenon of streaming, the technology of being able to get stuff on demand, and with the rise of popularity of that, and that becoming like the main way that
Everybody's
people
doing it.
Yeah, I do too. That was a paradigm shift. That was suddenly a big, major, change, force majeure, if you will, in the way that entertainment is consumed. It's just a big change. We had already an agreement with the producers and the companies, really, Disney and Paramount and all these different companies that hire us, on how we should be recompensed for our residual work, for repeat work. And in the old days, it was a certain way, and residuals were based on, airings on network television. So if you had done an episode of Hawaii Five-0, or something, which my mother was on, that made me think of. When they replayed that again, you got a check. When they replayed it again, you got a lesser check, and it would, there was a system in place for actors to share in the revenue, because there is revenue. The TV shows are based on advertising, or they were back then, advertising and subscriptions now. So now it's a different system. So the contract has to change to reflect that different system, because right now we're really cut out quite a bit, and actors, even actors that used to be that were on a big TV series, their residual income is on a sharp decline, because it's all factored in a different way. It's because it's based on something else. And as I understand it, the companies that hire these actors and make these productions are not tremendously transparent about how many subscribers, how many viewings, how many downloads. Now, we all know that, this is a data-driven society now. That data is available.
Oh, for sure.
So if they want to share, it would be a nice move, I think. That's my opinion. And so we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about it. And of course, it's not quite that nice. I think SAG and the WGA have specific kind of targets that they're negotiating on, like we would like to have this and this amount and so forth. And right now, it seems like there's not as much talking going on as there should. Eventually, like any negotiation, there have to be compromises on both sides.
Definitely.
And who we're negotiating with, as I found out, is the AMTPT, which is an organization that is not made up of producers or companies. It is specifically a negotiating sort of committee. That's what they do. They're like, I don't know if they're lawyers or other business people who, that's what they do. They're not in show business. They are in negotiating business.
Wow.
And they're playing hardball right now. They're like going, well, this is what we want. This is what we say no to. We're not going to talk about it. And, certain things they will, certain things they won't. So we're not actually, you know how it is in life where if you can just get together with the person you're having a problem with and spend
sit
5
down.
minutes, often it's fine. The minute I start hiring a lawyer to talk to your lawyer
all
or your
drama.
lawyer's lawyer, how long is this going to go on? It could go on lifetimes.
Yeah.
And a little bit that's what's happening now. There's no direct or very direct communication going on, except in these little meetings that SAG and the WGA are having with the MTPTP. But those have been kind of stalemated, and they come together and they're stalemated. In the meantime, we go out and strike. Well, we're not working, which is the strike part, and we go out on the picket lines, which is symbolic and also physical, because we are there to I haven't seen anybody stop any trucks necessarily from going into work with their bodies, although I think that happens. I think that's a possibility. But it certainly would shame anybody from crossing that picket line. There's a stigma. There's a kind of a stink attached to that. And it also demonstrates that we're serious. We're out there in the sun, getting all hot and sweaty, and picketing. It shows how much solidarity there is, how many people support it. People drive by and honk. It's good. It builds the agreement that, hey, these people deserve to at least be, compensated in some way. So that's what it's about. But it has very far-reaching effects. I was just talking to my wife about it. She has an acting school, the Acting Center, in Sherman Oaks, and we have fewer people going to take classes right now in like audition technique, because there ain't no
auditions
auditions going on.
happening,
It's like,
right.
oh, this seems like a low priority, and I understand it. Like, in some ways, you could go, well, maybe this is a great time to really beef up your skills. On the other hand, I can understand people kind of maybe spending their money on other things, groceries and diapers and things like that.
Yeah, in the case of Joe Biden, diapers. Wait, you didn't hear that. Anyway, never mind.
But so it affects restaurants, it affects dry cleaners. I mean, we're a kind of a one industry town.
Yeah.
There are other ones, obviously, but the entertainment industry, TV and film, have tendrils everywhere and little feelers out everywhere. So, like in New York City, where I used to live, there's so many different industries. Like entertainment was, there's Broadway, there's advertising, but there's politics, there's universities, there's science and Wall Street. And, oh my God, there's all these different kind of areas. But in LA, we're pretty committed to the show business. So until that's lifted and settled, we're all going to be feeling it, and it's just kind of nasty.
Yeah, because I mean, I have a friend of the family. She works in Hollywood as a pattern designer.
Okay.
So, when the strike happened, she had to be home because it was, no work going on. So, I mean, luckily she does have people that, she can do other stuff with and all that, still get her money, whatever. But her main income was through Hollywood. So, like, when the strike happened, going from working on one of the biggest TV shows to now just being at home waiting for a call, it's kind of, it's
uncomfortable.
rough, man. Yeah,
Very
it's sad. And there's people, rental companies, equipments and all that, catering, like you said, like food
Editors,
trucks,
composers.
editors, everybody's being affected by it. So hopefully there is an agreement that could be happening. I do think you should be paid because also I have another friend. He was in a TV show. I don't know exactly how much he got. Didn't ask. Didn't really want to know his business. But he told me the residuals would, it'll be decent. 5,000, 3,000, to once it's on cable, he was living good. The minute Netflix bought the show, it was like, you'd be lucky you get $1, bro. That's what he was told. Like, I'll be lucky I get $1. And I was like, man, is that bad? Like,
it really crashed. Yeah.
And it's not like Netflix and all these other places can't pay it because they got them. We see it. And then you guys are raising the prices, so we see it. So my whole thing is, if it's just a conversation that needs to happen, like I don't see why it can't be. You know what I mean? Like, especially with the fact that you guys are out there, like it has to be something that can come to some type of resolution.
Yeah, it will. It will. It's just an uncomfortable time. The pressure's building, and it will be released. And AI is another factor too. They're worried about AI, and that's something that I recently got some interesting information about. There's I was of the opinion that maybe producers were thinking that AI was going to solve a lot of their problems by being able to manufacture content, scripts, and even video as it grows and gets more amazing. It's already pretty mind-boggling. But the fact remains that they really need to sort out, ownership and a relationship of recompense for people's material that they're using.
Right.
Because there really it becomes a liability if you just go, well, let me just plug into AI, do a version of Friends, but they're in Morocco, and it's in the 1800s. And if they will scrub, or I think it's called scraping the internet for that content and for things that they will use, they're violating all kinds of copyright laws.
Yeah.
And so it's a liability for them. They could be sued down the road and will be sued down the road, especially when lawyers figure out how to really sort this out and really make some money off it. They're going to be just surrounded by vultures. So there has to be, and there is, a way to do AI that is more ethical. In other words, that has a thing called attribution, which shows you where did this come from, this thing we're using, or how much of this came from here, and what are all these pieces, so that there can be a structure in place where you go, all right, well, okay, great. So we're doing this version of Friends in Morocco in the 1800s, and we're going to have to pay, 3% of things to Warner Brothers for the percentage. I don't know how it would be figured, but there would be some way to figure out how much are we stealing here, who are we stealing it from, and make sure that they get paid something, which everyone would be fine on, as long as it was fair and even. So that's another kind of discussion that has to take place. But I don't think the producers necessarily, hopefully, I don't really have an opinion, but I hope that they will realize that it's not an easy fix, that they need to actually confront it now, the way that we all have to confront the effect of AI, which is just a tsunami of possibilities, and figure out a way to ethically establish a system without trying to just kind of overwhelm people with it.
Definitely, man. Man, I hope and pray that you guys do have it all resolved very, very soon, and everybody goes back to work, everybody gets back to it, and I mean, I think it'll work out. I think it definitely will. It's just one conversation that really needs to be taking place.
Maybe 5 or 10, but
No, man. But I like to end the show like this. Well, before we end it, tell us what can we expect from your show coming up on August 25th, 26th, and 27th.
Thank you. Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Friday show's a little later. It's 8:30. The other two shows are at 8 o'clock, so beware. But you can find all that out at jimmeskeman.com. What you can expect is an evening of fun and music. There's some musical numbers. I got a couple of talented musicians that are going to be playing with me. Stories, some of, kind of like the same vein I've been talking about. A lot of voices. And it's just kind of an adventure and appreciation of the human voice and all these different characters that I love to play. Okay. So about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes should be really, really fun.
That's right. Bring your popcorns, bring your boyfriends, girlfriends, mommy, daddy,
bring
everybody.
Bring everybody.
Man. So I have a segment that I close off with called Wow. It's called Words of Wisdom.
Ah, nice.
So I don't know if you want to give one, but I would definitely make you give one.
Yeah.
But it's basically just, words of wisdom to the next impersonator or actor, whoever that's coming up that might be watching this and that's a fan of yours or that wants to follow in your footsteps. What are the words of wisdom would you give to them?
Well, I get asked that a lot, and I think that there's something that I'm always reminded of is that the power of an artist is not necessarily technique, and this applies to all the arts. It's not necessarily the special technique or effect that you create. The power comes from your unique interest in following some thread, And when we talk about great artists, whether it's the Beatles or Christopher Nolan, the director, or any great artist you could name, and Lady Gaga, I don't care. Just these are people that got super interested in something, and maybe nobody else in the world or anyone around them is very interested in it. And people would say to Christopher Nolan, "So what's your next movie going to be?" You go, "Well, my next movie is going to be about Oppenheimer, the inventor of the atomic bomb." I'm sure a lot of people went, "Oh, okay, not Batman." Okay, huh? But the strength of that, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but I understand it's quite a film. And I noticed with myself too. There are certain things that I've had tremendous success with that started off as just me being like interested. That interest is something that you need to follow, be aware of, and not disparage. In other words, not shortchange it. If you go, wow, I'm really super interested in butterflies. I'm just thinking, there must be something really cool I could do with butterflies. And somebody can come along and go, butterflies? Stupid. And you could go, all right, yeah, I guess not. Then you just got to find something else. Yeah. But maybe there was something in butterflies. And if you followed it, people would go, years later, they go, now, how did you get the idea to do that thing with butterflies?
Right.
Because you changed the world with butterflies. J.K. Rowling is a great example. She wrote the Harry Potter books.
Yeah. Wow.
She sat, apparently, this is a myth or true, I don't know, but the story is that she sat in a laundromat, no money, yellow pad of paper, wizard boy, So she got interested.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? $10 billion?
It's about that.
You know, and not just the money, but just the influence, the fact that it's changed the culture. It, you know, starts whole industries off, you know, that little spark of something. So artists, my word of advice, my wow is my word of wisdom is to myself and to you is to follow that little nugget, that little spark of interest that you have, no matter how stupid it may seem, or minor, or inconsequential, or trivial. Maybe if you're interested in it, you're a powerful person. You have energy, you have power, you have goals. Maybe there's something there. You're not going to know unless you chase it down, you know? And really, anyway, that's the way I feel about it. Not that I have an opinion.
Do you have one, Ernie?
Oh, wow. Actually, I do have one that my mom always tells me. But in Spanish, it says, El que quiere, quiere. Means whoever wants it has to go get it and do it.
Ah.
So, like, basically, just don't make
que quiere, quiere.
excuses. Don't make excuses. If you really want to do it, go after it. Don't make excuses. Pursue it. It's going to cost you a lot, but if you really want to do this and this is your passion, go after it.
Igual, es lo mismo.
Es lo mismo.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's words of wisdom right there. So this was Talk That Ish, the podcast. Again, we have Mr. Jim Meskiman. Go and
Come and
follow
see Jim
him.
Impressions.
That's right.
August 25th, 26th, 27th.
Make sure you follow him everywhere. He is a social media sensation. My homeboy, Arnulfo, also known as Ernie. We appreciate you. I'm glad
Thank
you
you.
came and sat
Me
down and
too.
talked with me, man. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. Again, best of luck on everything else. This is Talk That Ish. See y'all soon.
Talk
Peace.
that ish.